Welcome back, School Library Media Specialists. We are going to our next session of our training this morning, and we are very lucky to have the MCPS TV unit with us. And for this session, they are not doing a Zoom 101. This is really going into how you can leverage Zoom for recordings. So we're going to ask you to mute your video, turn off your video and mute your audio for this session. It's going to be fast and furious, but you're going to learn a lot. So please pay attention, but we will have it recorded as well. And without further ado, I'm going to hand it over to Todd.
Well, thank you, Holly. You did a great introduction. You said everything I was going to say. I am a producer with MCPS TV, and I'm not a Zoom expert. My colleague, Terry McClung, is the Zoom master, as I call him. So he's going to lead us today. It is going to be fast and furious. We are recording this, so we will definitely send a link out to you, and you can share with other colleagues. You can share with students if that will help you getting your TV productions going faster if you're using Zoom. Because I think Zoom's going to be with us even after this, where we survive this pandemic. So Zoom is going to be part of our lives. So I think we need to embrace it and use it as best we can. So we're going to go fast through a lot of things, and then there'll be time for questions and answers near the end of our session. So without further ado, I'm going to send it over to Terry.
Thanks, Todd. Sporting my Zoomtopia shirt, I attended the Zoom conference last week. That was fun, learned some new things, and I'm ready to pass along what I can for you all. These are just my suggestions. It's what I've learned over the last 6 months. It's what works for us, but I definitely encourage you to play around with things and find what works for you. So the first thing I'm going to recommend you do with Zoom and really any software is to check your settings first. So I'm going to share Chrome here. I hope everybody sees that. So I'm logged into mcpsmd.zoom.us. And then I click the settings button on the left-hand side. Now you'll see, I encourage you to go through this whole list and read through each option, see what makes sense for you. Google the option if you're not sure what something means. You'll notice some of these settings are locked by MCPS, security settings especially are locked by MCPS, so there's nothing you can change there. But I will point out just the ones that I've modified. I'm not saying this is going to be the right setting for everyone. A setting for teachers using Zoom for the classroom is going to be different than what you need to record video and what will work for you. So the first setting that I've changed from the MCPS defaults is that I turn on chat. In TV, we use chat a lot. That is how we cue our host of a show. It's how we give notes. If Todd tells me I missed something when I'm describing something, we use chat for that. So I do recommend you turn chat on. So that's this blue box right here. And then I'm scrolling down. Next one I have modified is sound notification when someone joins or leaves. I don't want that doorbell coming through in our recording. So I always have that off. Scrolling down for the next one that I've modified here, and certainly please go through all these on your own. Breakout rooms. Breakout rooms could be helpful. We have actually used that for TV to have like another panel ready. So if we have a discussion with several topics, we may have the panelists for the next topic in a breakout room so they can get themselves ready and organized, and they can discuss what they're going to do. And then we close that breakout room and it brings them into the main session. So it's not a must-have for video or in recording. It's just an option that you could find helpful at times. So that could be one you can turn on. And just because you make it that you allow this feature doesn't mean you have to use it, but you won't be able to use it unless you activate it here. Language interpretation is something that we've started using. That's a little bit more complicated. You may or may not need this for the work that you do. It could be helpful if you have like a big community meeting and you have people that speak other languages there. What this does is it allows you to bring someone into the session and you assign them to that language. So say you have a Spanish interpreter. You bring that person in, you assign them as the interpreter, and what they will be doing is they will be listening to the content in English, and they will relay it speaking in Spanish, and then the people in that session can choose which language they want to listen to. They can listen to the original content in English, or they can choose to listen on the Spanish line, and they would hear the Spanish speaker on that line. So it does require you to bring somebody in. It's not something that's automatic, but again, that option is out there if that's something that you think you would ever want to use. Virtual backgrounds, personally, I'm not a fan, but they can come in handy at times. So you can turn that on. You can do some creative things with your virtual background, and I believe I'm getting to that later in today's session. But this turning it on allows you to use it, and you can also upload some images in advance. Like I have the default Zoom virtual backgrounds here, as well as one for our TV, MCPS TV, that I've uploaded. I could also upload from within the app later if there's a need later for something else. And then I'm also going to draw when we go way back to the top here, draw you over to this recording tab. So the recording tab, again, I'm in the settings on the left-hand side. We were in the meeting settings. Now I'm going to the record settings. Record settings, local recording allows you to record on your own machine. So that I definitely find that very helpful, to record on my own machine versus the cloud recording. And then you may or may not want to enable host can give permissions to someone else to record locally. So for example, for today's event, one of our staff members is recording locally. So I had to make sure Holly, as the meeting host, had this setting correct in her account. So yeah, you have to make sure this is set. I see questions in the chat. We're going to get to questions at the very end, though. I don't want to go back and forth right now, but I will get to those questions. Cloud recording. The cloud recordings, it's another option you could use. If you are using it, just go through and decide what you want to record. You can record independent views of the speaker versus gallery versus screen share. So there's some different things you can do there to give yourself some flexibility in editing. So the cloud recording gives you some specific file options. The local recording is going to be, you're going to record the way you see it on your screen. If you switch between gallery view and speaker view, that's the view that will be in your recording. So we always have a technical director. In this case today, it's going to be Dan, who is going to be doing the recording. And so what Dan is seeing on his screen, switching between speaker view and gallery view, is what that recording will be. I always recommend turning off timestamps, add timestamps to this recording. That has its purpose. For TV wise, that's not something we typically would want. But I do know where that would be something you'd want, but for TV purposes, for what we do, that is not something we typically do. So let me stop share for a moment here. Okay, let's move on. So within the app itself, so those are your main higher level account settings that are going to affect your account no matter what device you're on, whether you're on your MCPS, if you have a laptop with MCPS or a personal Chromebook or whatever. If you're logged in to your MCPS Zoom account, those higher level account settings via the website are what's going to that's what's going to be there on your account. But then when you get into the app, you have additional settings. So let's take a quick look at those. If you click the arrow beside the turn off video, the camera button at the bottom left, if you click the arrow beside it, it brings up these settings. And it's a small window that is just this size. And the reason I took the screenshot is, one, so you can see it bigger, and two, if you're sharing your screen, you don't always see the Zoom settings right. So this is why I took a screenshot. So video settings. Again, I will draw your attention to just a few that I think are important. HD, certainly for our needs, we always want to enable HD. Personally, I'm not a fan of touch up my appearance. What that does is that like softens your face a little bit. I guess it's for hiding wrinkles and things like that. But I see a little bit of lag in the video when we do that. So I am not a fan of touch up my appearance. I am a fan of adjust for low light. That was a new feature that was introduced in, I believe, version 5.2 of Zoom. Adjust for low light, I think makes a big difference. It helps a lot. It's not going to completely solve, if you have no light in your face and you're sitting in front of a window, it's not going to solve that completely, but it does help brighten up the image if you're a little bit dark in the front there. So I am a fan of adjust for low light, and I just leave it on auto. You could switch to manual and you can see what it looks like. There's a slider, you can slide left and right. But I've found that just auto works pretty well. We hide non-video participants when we're recording. We don't want to see everybody's name pop up on the screen. Right now, we're recording this session. I see we have 64 participants. There would be 63 windows of people's names if hide non-video participants was not enabled. Although I misspoke, we would actually only see 49, but you know what I'm saying. You would see all these names on the screen for the people with their cameras off. So we turned that option on to hide non-video participants. And then we display typically 49 participants. We don't often go that high, but I have it set to 49. You could bump it down to 25. That's up to you how you want to set that. And I should have pointed out before, I'm on Zoom version 5.3.2. Zoom is constantly putting out updates. If you Google Zoom release notes, they give the details on all these updates and what they include in each version. Right there on the website, it's all spelled out. But I've found the updates to be very reliable. Some software can be kind of buggy when it first comes out. Knock on wood, I have found Zoom to be very reliable each version that I've updated to. So the current version, as of October 12th, 10 days ago, is 5.3.2. And this is what I took these screenshots from. So those are the video settings. And then in the audio, there's not much I've changed in audio. The default settings I found to be pretty helpful. The suppressed background noise is a relatively new feature. That is going to help with, say, a lawnmower in your background or a fan blowing or something. And again, I've found the auto to be pretty good. If you think it's if you think it's doing too much, you can always turn that off. But I found it to be pretty helpful. The microphone, auto volume, I've found it to be mostly reliable. I can think of one time where I had, actually Dr. Smith, as a matter of fact, uncheck auto, and I had him boost his mic all the way to the right because it was a little bit low. But other than that, auto has been pretty reliable for what we've done. And I will say real quick, all of these settings are only going to affect that person's account. So if someone, say for the enable HD, if you see somebody, just trying to go back up. If someone's video looks really bad to you, you could ask them to go into these settings and make sure that they have HD checked, make sure they have adjust for low light checked. So you might have to talk people through some of these settings to make sure they're looking good. This affects your screen and what others are seeing from you. Okay, and then recording, jumping down here, again, I haven't really done anything with these settings. Again, I have timestamps off. We do not want timestamps on for what we do. But again, all of these recommendations, I'm just telling you what we do. You can determine what's best for your needs. And the last one I'll point out here is keyboard shortcuts. And I've scrolled down, there's a whole lot of them here. I scrolled down to the one that I care about the most, and that's switched between speaker and gallery view. And those of you who joined pretty early, you might have heard me talking with Lucas about that. He wanted to check his setting for that. These shortcuts are keyboard shortcuts that allow you to do things within Zoom instead of having to click the mouse all around the screen. So for our purposes for TV, we're often switching between speaker and gallery view. We use the gallery view just like we use a studio wide shot. And so when we want to go to gallery view, we don't want to have to go up and click the mouse and find that button to keep switching back and forth. So me personally, I clicked here. If you click in the middle column here, you click here, and then you type the command you want. Now, I would have loved to put just space there, but that is the temporary mute function. If you hold down a space bar, it unmutes you. So I couldn't use just space. So instead I chose, sorry about that. I chose control space. So if I hold down a control key and hit space, it toggles me between speaker and gallery view. I found that to be helpful. I don't have to look down at my keyboard. If I hit the control button, press the space bar, I know I'm switching between the two. Other functions that you use a lot, you might want to look through those settings and see if there's a good option for you. Okay, and now we're going to talk about quality. How to improve the overall quality. Well, it's going to come down to internet, obviously. One thing we always recommend is go to speedtest.net or your speed tester of choice and check your internet speed. At a very bare minimum, you want at least 3 megabytes per second for high quality video. Anything less than that, it's going to be choppy. You're going to see breakup. So check to make sure you have the best speed possible. To improve that speed, if you use an Ethernet cable, that's going to be more reliable than Wi-Fi. I know Ethernet's sort of a dying thing. You don't see a whole lot of it anymore, but Ethernet cable is going to give you a better speed than Wi-Fi typically. And then limiting other network use in your house. If I'm doing a major thing here, my kids aren't going to be streaming video games and movies and stuff. I ask them to take it easy on the network just to make sure everything goes well. Knock on wood, I have fast internet and it hasn't been an issue, but I still want to do that just to be safe. Audio. Audio is often overlooked in video, but there are things you can do to improve audio quality. Using earbuds or headphones. I'm using wireless earbuds right now. That's going to give you better sound than just your computer mic and speakers. I'm also using an external microphone, USB microphone, just to have better audio than what the computer would give me. Try to limit the ambient noise. Like I said, Zoom does a pretty good job of suppressing that automatically, but if you can turn off a fan, if you can not have your significant other mowing the lawn, things like that, while you're in a Zoom recording, then that would be ideal. If you're in a regular meeting just talking, not so much a big deal, but if you're recording, you do want to have as good audio as you can. And of course, the obvious one, please mute when you're not speaking. Remind your people that. If you're recording students or whatever, your principals, remind them to mute their microphones so that if a computer ding goes off or whatever, you don't want that interrupting your video, your sound rather. But speaking of video, let me stop my screen share and let's talk real quick about some of the issues that we see a lot when we first connect. So I'm going to ask our TV folks, turn your cameras on and show us some of the shots we often see. There we go. All right, now we're looking good. So what I did is, this is for our TV folks, by the way, MCPS TV folks. We prepped a few of them to show us some bad video here. So for example, Lucas, you see here, his camera is way down underneath him, looking up his nose. So if I'm talking to Lucas here, I'm going to say, Lucas, can you get your camera up any higher somehow? Can you put a book under it, a phone book, if anybody still has any of those? Anything you can do. We've done this with Dr. Smith. Do you have something you can prop that up? And he's walked around his house and he's put his iPad up on his mantle and got it more eye level. So eye level is ideal. You want to have an eye level as opposed to looking up at them. Carlton, way too much headroom. You know better. But yeah, we'll see that sometimes. A little bit, I mean, I assume many of you know proper framing for TV, just tilting up. You're not using your studio cameras like you would at school. So you have to tell people this instead of doing it yourself. Sylvia, we got to turn your camera a little bit, try to center yourself up. These are the kind of things that we're always telling our guests and why we get on early and ask them to be in place. And I'd also tell Sylvia, just tilt your camera up a little bit, don't cut your head off so much. Oh man, Todd, you're killing me there. We got to get those blinds down behind you. Anything we can do to get some more light on the face, turn the camera way up, there we go. So that helps a lot too. These are just little things that we're always working with when we bring people in. There goes Carlton tilting again, I gotta tell him again, all that kind of stuff. We're limited by what people have. We try to make the best of these environments. I'll give you a quick tip that I found. I was, the first couple of weeks of this chaos and Zoom and everything, I was in my basement. I had a bright window to my side and the left side of me was kind of dark. I found an app and in the iOS store. It's called My Light. Free app. Putting this in front of me, just out of frame. I don't know if you see that difference there, because I have a pretty bright area now, but just having that extra light to me, that's off, that's on. You can see a little bit of it. But things like that, there's plenty of free apps in the iOS store or Play Store if you have a spare tablet or iPad or phone that you can have just to fill in a dark spot. If there's something you can do to improve that, a lamp, anything like that. Just trying to get relatively even lighting as best as you can. All right, thank you, TV volunteers. Nice job there. Just checking my notes here. A quick note that I missed before, joining via the Zoom app versus the web. The Zoom app is going to give you the most functionality. It's going to give you the bar at the bottom. So if you are hosting and recording, and you want to have full control over the meeting, you have to have the app. Your guests, anyone joining in, they can join via the web if they want, but you're going to have more functionality in the app itself, the Zoom app. It's a free app for any device, basically. They're out there everywhere. I did miss that note before. Okay, we're good on time here. Zoom tools. We have a few Zoom tools we want to point out to you. Todd, can you turn your camera back on? There we go. All right, so me personally, I'm in gallery view right now. You could try this yourself if you go to view at the top and select gallery view. A new feature that came out in version 5.2.2 is you can change the order of gallery view. If you want to have your host on the left side of the frame, you click their window, and you cannot move a video while non-video participants are hidden. That's a new one to me. Okay, curveball. I'm not aware of that. I'm getting an error. You cannot move video while non-video participants are hidden. That is not something I've seen before. Maybe I just haven't tried doing this with non-video participants hidden. But okay. But I promise you that is a function that you could do. I'm curious to check this on our account because that's not an error I've seen before. Just learned there was an app. Yes, yeah, that Andrea, the app is so much better than joining from the web. And I know Safari often has audio issues if you try to connect from the web. So I definitely recommend the app. The app is a must if you're on a mobile device or a phone, iPad, any mobile device, you have to use the app. You cannot go through the web. From a computer, you can use either, but the app is definitely going to give you the most functionality. Another new feature in version 5.2.2 is multi-pin and multi-spotlight. If there are certain people that you want to see on the screen at all times, say you have 50 people and you're only showing 25, you can pin. You can manually pin people on the screen. If you click the 3 dots at the top right and you click on pin, again, you need to see some more people on the screen here to be able to do it. But if you click the pin button at the top left, so I can pin myself and then I can pin Todd, and then I automatically see the two of us on our screen. So multi-pin and multi-spotlight. Real quick, the difference between pin and spotlight. Pin, it controls what you see on your screen. If you pin someone, you will see them on your screen. It does not impact what everybody else sees. If I spotlight Todd right now, spotlight for everyone, everyone should see Todd on your screen right now. And then I can remove spotlight and then you can go back to whatever view you were looking at. So pin and spotlight, two handy things. And as of version 5.2.2, you can pin and spotlight multiple people at a time. I guess I should have shown you that real quick. I can spotlight, let me see where I am. There we go. If I spotlight Todd, you should just see Todd. If I spotlight myself also, everybody should see both of us right now because I've spotlighted both of us. So you can multi-spotlight, affects everybody. Remove spotlight for both of us. And you can, again, go back to what you'd like to see. Virtual backgrounds, that is done within the app. If you click the arrow beside stop video, choose virtual background. Again, I can choose it. Many of you are probably familiar with this. I do not have a green screen. I'd like to get one, but I haven't done it yet. And you can change what's behind you. And I assume many of you are familiar with that. Again, I think I saw briefly in the chat, there's a lot going on in the chat. I think I saw briefly that you can't use it in your Chromebooks, but it is available if you're on a regular computer. All right, so let me turn my virtual background back off. The virtual backgrounds can be pretty handy. You can get creative with those. The conference, Todd, your video was weird. The Zoomtopia conference that I went to last week, it was a virtual conference, and all of their virtual backgrounds had their name and their title in the top left corner, and then a Zoomtopia logo in the top right. So if you don't have access to be able to add lower thirds easily, another way you can do it is with virtual backgrounds. You can have the name right there in the top of the screen and do it that way. You can use it for your show logos. You have your school logos behind you. There's things you can do with virtual backgrounds. Just know virtual backgrounds can be unreliable if you don't have a green screen. There can be a little bit of choppiness on the edge. So it's an option though, if you care to use it. Screen sharing is another tool, obviously, that we use quite a bit. We can play back videos, we can play back audio. So when you click on share screen, there's three options that come up. You can try clicking it now, just don't share. But if you do click the share screen button, the furthest left option at the top is basic. It's going to show you any of your desktops to choose from. It'll show you a whiteboard and a couple things. And then it'll also show you any apps that you have open and not minimized. If you have an app minimized, you will not see that as an option of sharing it. So any apps you plan to share, make sure, oh, somebody still shared. Don't click share all the way. I'm just showing you, don't click the share button at the bottom right. I'm just showing you how to get to this point though. There is also share computer sound box at the bottom left. So if you are playing back a video and you want sound to be included as well, don't forget to click share computer sound when you go to do that. Optimize screen share for video clip. You can turn that on if it is video that you are sharing. If you look at that top bar again, the middle button, Margaret, playing around with your virtual background turned you on for all of us, just so you know. You're welcome to turn that back off. If you click on the advanced button, that middle button there allows you to share PowerPoint as a virtual background. That's a beta feature that's kind of new. It would allow you to put yourself, and you can resize your window. Instead of going through like a virtual background like we did before, using slides as a virtual background allows you to run a PowerPoint behind you, and you can resize your own video on top of it. It superimposes you over the PowerPoint. So that's a kind of neat new feature that they've been offering. In that advanced tab, you can also share a portion of your screen. If you want to just share part of a window, you can also share just sound so that you were still seen, and the computer sound is independent of your own microphone. You can talk over the computer sound. So both, it would be two channels of audio basically. So your mic is still active unless you click the mute button. The computer sound would be active as long as there's sound coming out. And if your speakers are muted, somebody just shared. If your speakers are muted, you will not hear sound in the Zoom session. So your volume for your computer is your volume control for your share. So be aware of that when you're doing that. And then I also see content from second camera in my advanced. Some of your options there will vary from device to device. And then there's also the option to share files from cloud services and such. So you have a lot of different options there on sharing. If you click the security button at the bottom left, you can control sharing. If you allow participants, and you're only going to see this if you're a host or a co-host, by the way, there's a security button where you can allow participants to screen share as opposed to just the host being able to screen share. Breakout rooms, we don't have them activated for this session, but I'd encourage you to Google that and look in Zoom. Zoom has really good support documents on their website. So I encourage you to look through the settings for breakout rooms if that's something you'd be interested in. Breakout rooms are pretty cool. You can set up multiple rooms, and you can either, as host, you can assign people to those rooms, or you can allow people to self-select. So say you were having a back to school night, you could have a breakout session with the Spanish language department. You can have it with the English department, and people could bounce around and choose whatever breakout sessions they want. Or you could, like I said, you can also send people to different breakout rooms. So breakout rooms are a nifty new feature, and you can bring people in and out. The people in those breakout rooms only see and hear what's happening in those breakout rooms. They don't see the main session until they come back to the main session. As I mentioned before, the chat window, and I see a lot of people are using it. And Todd, I'm going to lean on you to help me with some of these questions in there, because I see a lot happening there. The chat function is very, very handy. Again, we use it if we're trying to send a cue to someone. I'll use it if we need to adjust somebody's framing during the production. If I see them start to creep down like this or whatever, I'll say, all right, whoever, Carlson, can you sit back up in your chair a little bit? Can you center yourself back up? So I'll use the chat. I don't want to distract them. I'll be careful not to keep sending them messages while they're talking, but if I see they've taken a pause, and I think I can get them a cue without distracting them too much, I'll send them a chat message. So I definitely encourage you to use the chat for something like that. Using music and video roll-ins, I made a note of, or I think Todd made this note. Well, use that share screen option. You can use that to do your show intro, and then you can stop your screen share, and it comes right to the host of the show after you stop your share. Things like that you can do at the end of your show if you want to use a screen share to do closing credits or something. You can do that either in the Zoom session live, or you can always add it in your editing after the fact. So, for example, I've been working on a new series for staff called Wellbeing Matters, and we have an open and we have a closed, but I do all that editing. It doesn't have to be live. For a live event, you might want to do some of that live, but you do have the option to record. This is some of your record settings are right, and then you can add all that in your editing session. So speaking of live versus recorded, yeah, you can go live. Again, that was deeper in your account settings. You can go live to YouTube or Facebook. You just have to link the accounts and set all that up. I'm not going to dig too deep into that, but go into your Zoom account settings. You can link your accounts. There is live to YouTube. There's live to Facebook. There's live to custom streaming service. And we, at times, have used live to custom streaming service even when we're going to YouTube. The difference is if you go live to YouTube, it will automatically create a new event and send that out. And you don't have your YouTube link until you click the go live to YouTube. You don't have as much control over the event. You can instead do live to custom streaming service. You create your event in YouTube ahead of time, and then you enter those links that the pre-scheduled event provides into Zoom. And then when you click live on custom streaming service from within Zoom, you can send it out, and you have a little bit more flexibility. You could start sending it to YouTube, but not have it go public until you're actually ready. So what you can do is you can start the stream from within Zoom, send it to YouTube, but not going out public yet. Make sure everything's working and everything. And then when you're ready, then within YouTube, you can trigger it to go out live. Those are some deeper settings and thought, but that option is out there. If you do some research on it, that can be handy, a handy way to go live to YouTube and Facebook. And the other, and looking at my notes again, I think the other thing that Todd wanted to point out here was the treating a session as if live versus recorded. If you're trying to walk away with a finished recording like we are today, if I botch something, I'm not going to say, all right, take two, let's start over, let's go back and redo the app settings. I'm not going to do that because we're going live to tape, is the terminology, live to tape. We want to walk away with the finished recording. But if you're not doing that, if you want to do your daily show or whatever, and you plan to take it back and edit it, feel free to treat it like you would any studio show where okay, you're not too happy with that. Can you try it again? Let's do a take two. So feel free, even in Zoom, if you plan on editing it in any way later, go ahead and do a take two and ask them to do a pickup. We do it all the time. So just have in your mind when you're getting ready to start a recording, is this going to be a live to tape, or live to, well, not tape, but live to your computer, or do you want to edit it later and give yourself some more flexibility? So a couple different thought processes, and just plan out what that's going to be before you get into your session. Using a studio control room to do more a blended approach. Yeah, Zoom is just a tool. And when the time does come that you can come back to the classroom and be back in your TV studios or whatever, you can use Zoom integrated into your regular studio control room as a source. We're doing that in our work. When we do our board meetings and other live events, we are still going into the building. We have the Zoom session open. We're taking an output from the computer, going to our control room. And that way we can still manipulate that. We can put our graphics in over it, send it out live, just like we would if the event was at the building. We're just using Zoom as a camera source and an audio source. So think outside the box, get creative, find ways you can do things to try to replicate that studio experience. One last quick note before we get to all this dialogue and chat I'm anxious to see. We always have a host, co-host, technical director. We have a few different roles, and that could be one person wearing a few different hats, or it could be three or more different people, depending on the scope of the production. Make sure you have staff in place ready to assume those roles that you need. What we define as a technical director, even within Zoom, it's just like a technical director in a studio. The technical director is the one who's pushing the button switch between your sources. Our technical directors are the ones who are switching between speaker and gallery view. They're doing our recording. They're handling everything from a technical standpoint to make sure that the recording looks the way we want it to. So today is a lot like a lot of our events. Todd is the producer for this event today on our side. And Todd is just hosting and he's overseeing things. He's been talking with Holly and Andrea about what we want to have happen today. Todd's the producer, but he's not doing any of the button pushing. Dan is our technical director. He's doing our recording. He is just focused on the recording. He's not focused on any of the other aspects of the production. And then you can have the one host, and you can have as many co-hosts as you want. They're the ones that are managing the Zoom session. They're letting people in from the waiting room. They are going to mute people or turn their video off if somebody hasn't done it themselves. A couple quick notes about that. If you turn someone's video off, they cannot turn it back on unless you ask them to. So it's better for you to verbally ask them or via chat, ask them to turn their video off if you want to give them the option to turn it back on. And then removing someone. There is a setting for it in MCPS. It might actually be locked. I can't remember off the top of my head. But by default, if you remove someone from the session, they will not be allowed to join back in. And Zoom will give you a pop-up if you try to remove them. It'll say, if you remove this person, they'll not be allowed back in if your setting is set up like that. So just be aware of that. And if it's somebody Zoom bombing, which thankfully we haven't had to deal with, then yeah, you do want to permanently remove them. But if someone's having difficulties, let them remove themselves. Don't remove them if you want them to be able to get back in. So I think that's all the content that we had prepared. We tried to just zero in on some of the important stuff for recording and for TV purposes. Now I can jump over to the chat, and Todd, I invite you back in. If there's any that have caught your eye yet, I'll try to take a look. Ooh, there's a lot of questions there. So Todd,
yeah, there's a lot of questions. And Terry,
Okay.
thank you so very much for showing us all that and screen sharing and stuff. I think that was very helpful. I just saw one on how to do a makeshift teleprompter, and I just did this the other day. If you're writing a script, when you send the person the Word document, have them pull the Word document up on their laptop or computer so that they're like using the screen. They don't have to see themselves in the Zoom call. That's what people are always, sometimes it may be not good for them to see themselves. They can actually, you know, put the document up and you can scroll down and read the copy while you're kind of still giving some good eye contact. So you can use the screen as a teleprompter.
Let me give you one quick note on that. One more quick note. That you can do that with a computer. On a mobile device, on an iPad or a tablet or a phone, if you switch to a different app, it's going to stop your video within a Zoom session. So, the Word document as a prompter is an okay option as long as you're on a computer. And another quick note, since I didn't mention this earlier, but that you just reminded me, make sure people know where their camera is. Because I'll see people looking all over or over here, and they don't know where the camera is. So make sure, and if you have to, have them point to where they think it is, and make sure they understand where their camera is, and ask them to make eye contact with the camera rather than looking down where you see people on a screen, or if you have another monitor, if you're looking over here, then you look awful. Try, if you can, I know you tend to want to look down where the window is, but have them try to look directly at the camera when you think it's appropriate. That's your call when you think that's appropriate.
Particularly when you are speaking.
Yeah, when you're speaking and you're speaking to the audience, then yeah, you really want to be looking at that camera. I know during this session today a lot, I've been looking down at different things and looking at the chat, but really I should be looking at that camera the whole time. I tend to not be in front of the camera, so cut me some slack here. But yeah, that's where you want to be looking. You want to be looking at that camera the whole time. All right, Todd, do you have more there?
Then they said it was on me because my glasses they're cheapy glasses, but they got a lot of glare. So it's kind of hard to maneuver. I could also change. I'm going to lower my blinds because sometimes it could be the reflection of a light from a window. So if you know, just kind of how you could position yourself, perhaps. If I close these blinds, it might.
And while he's doing that, another option for you is turn down your computer brightness.
A little bit helped a little bit to take some of that glare off. But any other suggestions for glasses? Are always a pain.
Glasses are tough in studio and in Zoom.
Or take them off.
Todd, taking off is the easy option.
I can't see anything, but
well, you don't need to see. We just need to be able to see you. Turning down the screen brightness helps with that some. So if people can turn down their brightness, of course, that also hurts some of the light that's hitting their face. The computer monitors serve as makeshift lights for your face, but turning down the brightness helps some with that. Just like in a studio, if you are able to tilt them up a little bit, or down some rather. All right, so you see the difference there, and I know it's hard to do. And these are my reading glasses, but it's hard to do, but within reason, if they're able to tilt their head down a little bit, just tilting the angle of the frames, you can play with that and see if that helps at all. And I just lost one of my earbuds. That can help too. Glasses are tough, so it's just a matter of playing around and seeing what can help with that. Sorry, while I grab my earbud.
So what I would welcome now is if someone has a question, that even if it was already in the chat, because I see there's stuff on streaming and stuff on YouTube accounts. But if you have a question that we haven't answered yet, just pop on and wave. We'll do the real wave as opposed to the icon hand. So
go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Earlier, someone asked about earbuds and speakers. Like I'm using my wired iPhone earbuds, and then you have the wireless. Is there any better than others?
Obviously, quality is going to vary from product to product. I mean, you could go high end, you could go Bose, you could spend as much as you feel like spending. These ones I have right now, I saw on Slick Deals for $10 on Amazon for wireless earbuds. And I had no expectations on it, but they actually work pretty decent. They have decent bass.
Your voice is very clear and very...
Well, that's a USB microphone. And again,
okay.
That's not... And I don't have a whole lot of slack here to lift it up and show you.
That's
but
okay.
that is a USB microphone. I think I spent like $40 on this microphone. The sky's the limit out there. There's so many options out there. Anything is going to be better than anything's going to be better than your computer speakers. I've got a pair of hardwired headphones that I use also. And then I have hardwired earbuds nearby. I have options.
Okay.
I just do what I feel like that day. Today, I figured I'd put in wireless. The problem with wireless, you got to always keep charging them. So I don't like to go wireless on an important event, but I waited until right before we started and I made sure they were charged completely before I went to them. I also saw a quick note in the chat about updating the version. If you click on, I can tell you about Apple. Apple, if you go to the Zoom software, the top bar there, about Zoom, I think it gives you the version. I'm sorry. Zoom, the Zoom US line at the top left there, if you go down, scroll down to check for updates is the way to do it. I'm sure PC has something similar. I don't have it in front of me at the top of my head to show you. Usually Zoom will give you a pop-up if there's a new version available that you don't already have on your computer.
I'll look around. I think Okta sent something out about it, and I'll try to find that too. I was looking. If I find something, I'll send it out to everybody.
Okay.
About how to update MCPS computers.
Thank you for that. I see that someone else has a question. I can't get your name on the screen, but
I see Margaret here on the screen.
Margaret,
are you popping on to ask us something? No. Okay.
No. Okay. Any other questions that people want to?
I'm looking through the chat here. How do these settings differ from what we see on Chromebooks? The apps are going to vary just a little bit. It's going to be where buttons are mostly. I know on my iPad, switching to gallery view is on the left-hand side of the app window. But generally speaking, I think Zoom's done a pretty good job of getting the options pretty similar from device to device. It just might look a little different. You might just have to look around the screen for where things are. But generally speaking, a lot of it is still the same.
Brian Bukowski has a question that he put in the chat and he's raised his hand. Brian, do you want to ask it?
Yeah, the biggest thing that I hear from teachers all the time is fighting glitchiness and lag. Sometimes the message comes up with CPU usage, which I presume that they've got, they're on a Chromebook and they've got too many tabs open and it's trying to refresh in the background. That's what I presume is happening, but I don't know. But the bigger thing we're running into more is, teachers wanting to show videos and the lag that happens when they share their screen and want to show a video. And I've seen this with my own kids at home where it's just, it's more frustrating than a positive learning experience when a teacher tries to share their screen with a video. And is there any way that the teacher or host can try to prevent this lagging or glitchiness?
Well, yeah, it's definitely going to come down to the computer power. I see a difference just in an iMac I'm using now versus the MacBook Pro that I was using before. The computer power is going to be a big factor. Zoom is always, at least right now, it's always 25 frames per second for any kind of, for all this video that we're seeing. It's 25 frames per second as opposed to 30 frames per second that is normal TV. Rebooting the computer before you get started. I rebooted this one this morning before we started. This is a powerful computer, but I still, if the computer's left on for a while, it just can get bogged down with cache and stuff that you've done. So I always reboot, try to close other apps, other software. I've closed everything. Again, it's a powerful computer, but I still closed Outlook. I closed Hangouts. The Chrome uses a lot of resources, and I know a lot of us are really dependent on Chrome for the Google Classroom and such like that. But Chrome is really a resource hog, unfortunately. So anything you can do to close tabs, close other software. The video file size is something that we've done. Even though we want all our videos to look as good as possible, we export we work in Premiere, and for any videos that we're sharing in Zoom, we use a Twitter 720p preset within Premiere. What we went for was the smallest file size as possible. We think that the smallest file size is going to help the computer not work so hard to play it back. In PowerPoint, you saw I did cuts only. I didn't do any fancy stuff flying around the screen because I just don't think it looks good in Zoom. Any of those effects, it's not smooth. It's not 30 frames per second. It's just not that good. So trying to keep the videos as simple as possible. I know we'd love to go crazy with getting as creative as we can, but if it's just within Zoom, the simpler, the better.
And I think you mentioned earlier with the technical term, the lagginess of the video can be from people using the clean up my appearance, enhance my appearance, that selection.
Yeah, that does a little bit of a jittering kind of thing when using touch up my appearance. Yeah.
If people are using, if people are using virtual backgrounds, that also can add, because you're making the computer work harder.
Yeah, virtual backgrounds really can be a hog. On my personal computer, I was using a virtual background. I was doing a screen share. I was doing a bunch of different things. And about an hour into a personal thing for my ski club I'm in, my whole session just froze. And I was the host, and it was just a big mess. So lesson learned, share your PowerPoints with somebody else in case you get locked out if it's a live event. Yeah, I mean, we're limited by the resources of these devices. And for that event, my personal computer just wasn't powerful enough. And yeah, the virtual background really, really bogged it down. Yeah.
And Terry, what about if you're, like I frequently am on VPN, and that also takes a lot of computer memory. So maybe if teachers are like doing the remote desktop or something, they shouldn't.
Yeah, try to close anything you can. Close anything else if you can avoid VPN and other software while you're in Zoom. I'll sometimes just have my iPad around, just my personal iPad, but I'll still have it around so I can check email or whatever via that and not bog down the computer any more than I need to. Yeah.
There was a question, how do you get to the settings? I think that might have been answered in the chat, but how do you get to the settings? I saw that question.
So the first set of settings I showed was via your web browser, MCPS-MD.zoom.us, and you log in and the settings are in the left-hand column there. Within the Zoom app itself, if you click the arrow next to either the mute button or the stop video button, and then like for video, if you go to video settings, it's the arrow beside stop video, check your video settings, and it will take you to the settings window. And then within that window, you can jump between general and audio and all that kind of stuff. Another quick note I should have mentioned before, another problem I see a lot, the arrow beside the mute button. That is where you select your microphone, and it's where you select your speaker. So many times someone will come in and they're not muted, but I see it's because their computer jump to some crazy input for microphone. Make sure it's on the proper microphone. Like I said, I've got my earbuds plugged in. I mean, I got my wireless earbuds right now. I also have my headphones plugged in. If my headphones were still selected in my speaker, I wouldn't be hearing anything with my earbuds right now. So make sure your speakers are up. I know it's crazy, but that comes up sometimes too. So just looking through here and checking everything, make sure everything's where it needs to be is a good thing. I see Anita's on. I see two electronic hands raised. So Anita, you have something?
Yeah. Doing PIPs. We stopped doing Zoom because the only way we could do the PIPs is on a side-by-side. And you said that you can use slides as a background with a video in the foreground. Can you do the reverse? Video in the background and then the PIPs in the foreground, so we can place them where we want them on the screen.
And you didn't like the side-by-side mode? Did you check that?
Well, there's black on top, black on the bottom, and then the PIP in the middle. No, it looks like Zoom. It doesn't look like a real recording. I mean, it works, but
okay. And you know,
we started
you can
editing. So we would take the Zoom, whatever the kids did on Zoom. Now mostly they're just using their phones. And then one of the students or I edit the show and put in the PIPs and do all of that. But that takes time, and the students are saying, listen, this is a long time to spend when I'm trying to do homework. Yeah, it is.
Yeah, in a side-by-side mode, you can slide that bar left and right to make one bigger than the other. But yeah, you're going to have some black there. The picture-in-picture, you can resize the foreground, but I you can resize your own camera, but the PowerPoint is still going to be full screen.
Okay.
I don't. I have to think about that a little bit more. I can't think of an obvious way to. I mean, you could when you create your video that you're playing in the background, you could resize that. If you wanted that smaller. So instead of being full screen, so within your editing software, you could resize it down so it only fills part of the screen, and then you leave space for your person beside it. I mean, that might be an option.
Yeah. You mentioned lower thirds as well. Is there a way to do that in Zoom?
That's coming to webinars. I do know that. It's a new
Okay.
feature. They announced the Zoomtopia last week. It's going to be coming to webinars. No word yet of it coming to meetings. But again, you could sort of cheat and use a virtual background for that. It's not ideal, but that's a quick and easy way to do it within Zoom, as opposed to having to take it back and do it in editing.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. I see Ellen has her hand raised there. Ellen, you got something?
Yeah, you mentioned YouTube for streaming, but are there other services for streaming that we can do?
Well, there's Facebook also. I'm not familiar with other options. If you go to that live on custom streaming service, it allows you to enter in a stream key and a stream URL. So if there are other services you're interested in, if you're able to get those links to Zoom, you can go anywhere. There's a service called Restream that I'm familiar with. And what you do is you stream from Zoom to Restream as you're streaming, where you're streaming it to, and then from Restream you can go to all kinds of. They have a million different options out there for Twitch and all kinds of stuff. So I'd suggest looking into that. Just Google Restream with Zoom. And if there's not an easy way to integrate whatever you're looking for directly within Zoom, you might be able to go through Restream. There's limited options with a free account, but they also have paid accounts too. So you can look into that.
Thank you. I think Dorothy had a question.
Yes, I'm working with our National Honor Society, and we're offering tutoring sessions. When a tutor and a tutee are put into a break room, can the tutor share their screen in a break room?
I believe so, but that's not something that I've done personally. I'd have to Google that. I don't know that one. That's not something we typically are doing for our work. And I've really sort of zeroed in on the type of things for TV purposes, recordings and things like that. I think you could probably find, I'm seeing in the chat, yes, they can. So I'll defer to you all on that. That's not something that I've done.
Thank you.
How do you know what version you have and how to update? So if you, again, on a Mac, if I click on zoom.us on the top bar, and then I click About Zoom, it tells me what version I have. I'm sure PC, it's something similar. Maybe in the Start menu, if you right-click on the Zoom software, it'll tell you what version you have. There's got to be a way. Maybe if you go to Help and About, I'm just going from memory here. It's been a while since I've been on PC. I've totally gone all in a Mac. Maybe Help and About. I know I've updated on our PC too, but I'm thinking that's where it is. But they should give you, can't find Help and About on the PC. It could be because you're full screen on the PC, maybe Escape or Restore in the top right, so that it's not full screen. That'll give you your bar at the top with File, Open kind of stuff. But if you can't find it, like I said, Zoom will typically give you a pop-up if there's an update for you to make. I see a question here real quick. Hi, would like to record an intro similar to when they were face-to-face, which I was. Can this kind of recording occur in Zoom version? Would like to record an intro similar to when they were face-to-face, which I was with the different specialists. Jennifer, can you pop your camera and mic on, or at least mic on?
I'm sorry, I was typing while also trying to get with my 5-year-old.
I'm trying to understand your question.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Okay.
So my broadcast crew would like to have more of a dynamic intro, because right now they're just recording videos at home. And I told them that I would try to see how that could happen, like something that they did face-to-face. I wasn't the media specialist then, so I don't even know how they did it before.
What kind of things are they trying to do?
So I think that they wouldn't mind having some kind of nice background, but they also want to see if like they can almost make it look like they're sitting at a news desk together and like merge them virtually. So I was trying to think of maybe this part is not your problem. I was just wondering if there's a way that I can get them to record it. And this isn't a Zoom question. I just figured all that out. It's not a Zoom question.
There's things you could try to do. That's a deeper kind of thing. I don't think there's an easy, quick answer. Yes, virtual background is. I'd say virtual background with a green screen is going to be, and it doesn't have to be green. It has to be a solid color though. So like my wall right here, if I got closer to the wall or this side of my wall without the furniture in the space, I could use that as a green screen, and then I could have a virtual background behind me, and I could put myself in that set. And with the multi-pin, you can put multiple people in that space. So it would take a little extra work. It's not something that I've done, but it is a possibility. I definitely encourage you to look up some information about the multi-pin and virtual backgrounds. That's the easiest way to get to that point. If anybody wants to go really crazy about it, you can use virtual cameras. There are virtual cameras. OBS, I think, is one that's very popular. In Zoomtopia last week, if you really want to get crazy with this, there was an Epic Events session. If you look up Zoomtopia Epic Events, they had a session that blew my mind. And I've been in this for 6 months messing with Zoom. They were using virtual cameras with many cameras in this space and guys flying through space and all kinds of craziness. That's deep stuff that we haven't gotten into, but if you're a real techie and if you really got some time in your hands and you want to play, Google virtual camera Zoom, and there's some crazy stuff you can be doing.
Okay, thank you. That does.
Yeah, blue tarp. Yeah, great idea. Great idea. I love it. Yeah, blue tarp is perfectly fine. Doesn't have to be anything fancy. You're looking for a solid color, just like many of you probably have green screens in your studios. They can be green, it can be blue, whatever, just like the weather people use. Yeah, anything solid color will definitely work for virtual backgrounds and get it cleaner. Andrew, I see you popping on.
Yeah, I just wanted to, you had offered that you could stay for a few minutes. So I just wanted to let people know that the lunch is officially started, and it goes until 12:30, and we're going to come back into the main Zoom room, this link right here. So you can go ahead and the people that need to leave can go ahead and just get out of the session. And we ask that people come back promptly at 12:30 so that we can start our Nearpod session. There is no attendance form, separate attendance form for today. I'm getting all the attendance off of the Zoom. But Terry's willing to stay for a few minutes. For those techies that want to keep asking questions are welcome to stay on. But I just want to give people an opportunity to leave that need to get off the call.
So thank you, Andrea,
so much this morning.
I'm sorry. So thank you for letting us do this. Hopefully this was helpful. I need to get into another meeting for the mental health fair that I'm producing. And Andrew, I don't know if you sent this out to the folks, but TV has some resources that you can use. This is part of our initiative to kind of work with students and folks like you so that students can produce, higher quality, fun, interesting videos. And so we have a music library that you can tap into, because we always like to air many of the things that your students are going to produce if they're evergreen. So it shouldn't be like the school announcements, but it could be like a cool PSA or something that they might have created. But we have an issue with, like, sometimes with copyright, and I know that's kids want to use popular music. So we have two library choices in that document that I hope Andrea will share with you.
Yes, it's linked on our agenda, actually.
Awesome.
I forgot to announce it, but I did link it. So I'll remind them after lunch.
So, feel free to use that and send us, original content that is copyright free that we can possibly air and put on our website via Zoom or via in person. And I love that kids are using their phones, because it does look better if they're using their phones as opposed to Zoom, but you can mix all these things together. So Terry, thank you so very much for presenting this. I'm going to fly off, but as Andrea said, Terry will be available for a few more minutes. if we have questions, and we will record this, and we are recording this, and we will share that link with you soon.
Thank you, Todd.
Sign off,
Thanks,
and
Todd.
Thanks, Todd.
beautiful
Thanks,
day.
Todd. So we have about 20 people that are still left. Anybody have any last questions for Terry while we have him captive?
I would just also encourage everybody, don't, yeah, you can use the Word document as a teleprompter, but people understand we're on Zoom. I don't think you need to fake it too bad, because if you don't do a good job at it, it comes through that you're faking it. So try to be natural with it. If you try to fake the audience, they're going to see it. So it's okay if somebody looks down at their notes and then looks up. We've worked with board members and administrators. If they have to deliver an address to new teacher orientation or whatever, I'll tell them, treat it like you're at the podium at that event. You're not going to be staring up at them the entire time. You're going to look down at your notes. Looking down at your notes is natural. So yeah, use the Word document if you want, but you have other options. You don't have to. It doesn't have to be perfect. We want it to be as perfect as it can be, but it doesn't have to be perfect.
Sometimes I post reminders on the wall right outside of my view if I don't want to forget something.
Yeah. Yep. It's okay to have notes around. Like I said, just your eyes moving is going to be noticeable, and that's fine. It's what we see on teleprompters too. It's just something to consider. Just, you're going to have that eye movement.
And you just said that one student printed them out and taped them to the wall.
Yeah, but then it might look like they're looking up at that wall. So it all depends on what your production is. Some productions, yes, you're gonna have to read. That is what it is. When it comes to an interview, if I'm interviewing somebody, getting their thoughts on something, then I don't like them to over prepare. And this is with or without Zoom. I mean, this is how I feel in general. When you're interviewing somebody, I'd like to not have them over prepare with questions and the answers to the questions. They always ask for the questions ahead of time, and I say, yeah, I'd rather you not over prepare. If I'm asking you, what does a library media specialist do? What is their role in a school? I don't want you to have an answer prepared. The library media specialist, they do this, and then it's what you do day in, day out. Describe your work to me.
Right.
So yeah, teleprompter has its time and place, but discussions like you and I are having right now, they have their time and place too. That's the only thing I'd say to that. Feel free to shoot me an email. You can find me if you Google go to the MCPS staff page, look up TV. You can find me there. Be glad to help you out with whatever I can. 6 months ago, I never heard of Zoom, and I was quarantining in my basement, and our production manager, Carlton, said to me, hey, I want you to look into this Zoom thing, and it sort of consumed me for the last 6 months.
Awesome.
And now you're wearing the Zoomtopia t-shirt.
Yeah, I need to look up Zoomtopia. Yeah,
I figured out
we need that.
The Zoomtopia, I thought it was really, really cool. And they had a lot of sessions for educators that I didn't necessarily watch a lot of the education stuff because I'm more into the TV side of education, even though there is some crossover there. But definitely if you go to zoomtopia.com, all their sessions were recorded, and they had a lot of sessions about education. They had the keynote.
Was it a free conference?
It was free, yeah. So that was the cool thing. I mean, this is typically an in-person conference that you had to pay for, and only appropriate that it was on Zoom now, and it was a free event, and I attended. I did about 6 of the sessions. My favorite by far was the Epic events, and it just blew my mind seeing these people use virtual cameras to. It was just crazy. It was very entertaining. Wow. It was 40 minutes. If you're a techie at all like me, that was a really neat one to watch. And then, like I said, there's some education ones too. So,
great.
Yeah. Looks like Brian does have his hand up. Brian, what's your question?
I just want to echo first that, Terry, thank you. This has gone well beyond any type of training we've gotten from MCPS, and a lot of these things, we just don't know about. One thing that could be helpful to us is that you mentioned that you're using a Mac, and I think the Mac Chrome app extension, whatever you want to call it, does give you a bunch more options than the Chromebook that almost all teachers are using. And if it's possible, if you could get your hands on a Chromebook and kind of compare and contrast some of those options, especially the screen sharing, I think you have a lot more options that the Chromebook doesn't allow you to, that if you could then give us some advice as to ways to maximize quality and avoid options. And if you wouldn't mind sharing that, if you can get to it with Holly and Andrea, that's something that I think our teachers would really benefit from if we could share that with them.
Okay, yeah, good point. Holly, you look like you want to answer it.
No, I just, yeah, it's up to you, Terry. I don't want to put more on your plate. I do think that we could maybe ask, a different department for that. But if you're willing to, that would be great. I mean, I don't want to put more on your plate. You just gave us a full hour.
It's okay. I love this kind of stuff. I'm a techie and I love figuring out Zoom and I like
the key
puzzles.
is probably getting him a Chromebook. There's
yeah, I think so.
Start supply. If we can find a Chromebook for you, we'll send it over to you.
As a matter of fact, I have one. My son is in his Google Classroom right now on it.
Just steal it away from him.
So sometime, maybe today or tomorrow, if not, probably today or tomorrow, I'll take a quick look, and then maybe what I'll do is I'll just record a quick 5 or 10 minute thing on my own, and we can tag it at the end of this video.
Oh, okay.
We're still recording this, so I'll take a quick look. I know it's going to be limited. I know it doesn't have the same functionality as the full version of the app is the thing. It's not Mac versus PC. It's the Chromebook. You're using the mobile app, and the mobile app is more limiting than the full computer app. So, but yeah, let me take a look at that. I'll just record my own short little video. 5 or 10 minutes or so. I'll explain some of the differences, some of the limitations of the Chromebook,
Great.
That's very generous of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Terry. That is very generous. And you had mentioned the frame rate for video is generally 25 per second. What did you say? What Zoom's is, and is that part of the limitation too? Yeah.
Zoom is 25 frames per second at best. Now it depends on the camera though. Everybody's individual camera is going to affect how it looks on Zoom. I had somebody a few weeks ago, his camera was 15 frames per second. So it was just a very low end camera. And so it didn't look so great. So Zoom is only going to be as good as the camera feeding it. And a lot of cameras that many of us are using are 720p. I've seen 1080. I had a recording a week or two ago with someone on a 1080p camera, and I could see it right within the Zoom session. I'm like, wow, that video looks really good. And then when I went to edit the piece, when I went into the file information, it showed that the file was 1080p. It's because his camera was 1080p. So just having the better camera does make a difference. And so if you're able to add in, I don't know what budgets are like, if you're able to add a 1080p camera, that's certainly going to improve things. If you're using it for, I don't know how it all works with budgeting with your TV crews or whatever, but if you're able to do some sort of news thing and if you can use an external camera for it, that might be better. That's an option to look into.
Again,
and
I think
you've got a cam. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. I was going to say the key is trying to find those things.
They're hard to find.
On back order,
They are. Yeah. I got a Logitech. It's still 720p. I got it off Best Buy. I think.
It's good to have a number there. 1080p.
1080p, and a lot of people might already know this. So 1080 is the number of lines horizontally in the screen. So full HD is 1080, 1080 lines of video. Now you got 4K, which is double that. So 4K is, I think there's 8 somewhere out there, but on a consumer level, 4K is really the best you'll see right now for the most part, unless you're really spending money. 4K is top of the line, really. Then there's 1080p, 1080 lines horizontally. And then the next step down is 720, which is still considered high definition. It's better than the old days of standard, but it's 720 versus 1080, and obviously the more lines, the better. And then you get way lower with standard definition, which is far worse.
And so, and you had mentioned somebody's camera being 15 frames per second. Would that contribute to a perceived lag if somebody's watching that video?
It wouldn't be as smooth. It would be choppier. So any kind of movement, instead of seeing that movement over the course of 30 frames in 1 second, where it's pretty smooth and seems smooth to the eye, instead you're seeing.
Yeah, and when you graciously grab your kid's Chromebook away from them, and could you see what the built-in camera on that Chromebook, if it can tell you what the frames per second? Now that's going to be different than the nicer teacher ones that we got.
It's going to vary by device. I can look at what his is, and in fact, maybe I'll record the session on his Chromebook just so you can see what his looks like.
Great, thank you, Terry.
Yeah, no problem. We got that just for our own home use a couple of years ago. It's certainly not high end, but I'll take a look at it. Okay, so this is a quick addendum to the training from earlier. There were a number of questions about Zoom on a Chromebook. And so I've been messing around for the last couple hours with my own personal Chromebook. And it's definitely not quite the experience that it is on a computer. One lesson I just learned, use the Zoom app from the Chrome Web Store, not from the Google Play Store. Hopefully you have the right one. I was trying to do this with the app from the Google Play Store just because I used to be an Android guy and I'm used to the Google Play Store. Turns out the Zoom app on the Chrome Web Store is a much better experience. And you can do more with it. Not quite as much as a computer, but definitely more than the Google Play version. So definitely recommend that for you Chromebook users. Obviously, the picture quality is not nearly as good as what you saw earlier on the computer. This is a 720p camera, believe it or not. The Chromebook only has 2 gigabytes of RAM, though it's an older Chromebook. So hopefully you have better MCPS Chromebooks and your end looks better than what I have here. I am doing a cloud recording because you cannot record locally on a Chromebook. I'm doing a cloud recording. I'm using earbuds and the microphone with my earbuds. I also did a little bit of research comparing the different versions of the app. So I'm going to go ahead and share that now. So left column is Windows or Mac, same experience on both platforms. The second column is the Chromebook. Not a lot of check marks there. The third column is the mobile platforms, both Android and iOS, mostly the same. And then the fourth column is via the web. I'm only pointing out some of the key differences that I've noticed in the list. I found the list on Zoom support page. If you just search for comparing the different devices, there you can find the differences there. I've pointed out the key ones where there's a difference between the platforms. I didn't include something available on all the platforms, but I did note the ones where you do have a different experience. So closed captioning, you can only see on a computer or a mobile device. The touch up my appearance that I mentioned earlier, only a computer issue. Don't worry about the other platforms. Virtual backgrounds, as we learned in the chat, the lack of a virtual background in the Chromebook is not an MCPS thing. It's just not available on the Chromebook. So you need a computer or a mobile device for that. Screen sharing, pretty widely available, not on Safari though. And then whiteboards annotating as a computer thing or a mobile thing. Sharing audio, where I mentioned earlier, you can play music or whatever, that is only available on Android, not iOS. Pausing a screen share, not a big deal, not available on mobile. And then the side-by-side mode that we talked about earlier, where you can have your screen share on the left side and then you can pin participants on the right side, that is a computer option only. So these are the settings and sharings. Moving on, the host and co-host control.
Polling is only available on a computer. Starting a breakout room, yes, you can do that on a Chromebook or a computer or the web, so you have some more flexibility there. Streaming live, only available on a computer. Allowing others to record, you can do on any platform except for the web. The entry and exit chime, which I'm personally not a fan of. I at least turn it off when I'm recording. It says it's not available on a Chromebook. And stopping a participant share. You can only stop the participant share on a computer or mobile device. In meeting controls, you have a lot of options here on any platform. I'll just point out again, Safari is a problem with joining computer audio. Safari is just not a good option for Zoom, period, from what I've seen. Recording, you can only record locally from a computer. Other devices, you do have the option to record to the cloud only. And you go to log in MCPS-MD .zoom.us to access those recordings once they're available. Gallery view, it is available on the Chromebook and the computers. On the mobile devices, it gets split up into multiple screens and you can swipe from right to left and then I think go back left to right to toggle between those groups of people. The self-select breakout room, it's a relatively new feature, not available in a Chromebook or the web platform. Interpretation, we talked about earlier, not on a Chromebook, not on the web. Captioning, we did not talk about earlier, but it's a similar concept as interpretation. You can bring somebody in to type out captions, but not on a Chromebook. Polling you can do from any platform except the web. Okay, so there you have it. Those are the key differences that I found on the website. Other things that I didn't mention are pretty much universal across all the platforms. So looking at the app here, I'm seeing a lot of the same buttons that I see on the computer version. You still have your mute and your stop video at the bottom left. As a host, you have some security settings that match what I see on a computer. You can still manage participants and chat. Settings near the top right where you can toggle through some of the video and audio settings. Still a lot of options there, just not quite as much as the computer platform. And hopefully the MCPS Chromebooks look even better than mine and hopefully run a little bit better than mine. Mine is a bit older. I only have 2 gigabytes of RAM in it. So it definitely is lacking a bit. But there you have it. Hope some of this content helped. Feel free to reach out to me, send me an email if there's anything else I can help you with. All right, good luck and happy Zooming.